So the Christmas season is upon us, and I guess that means I should make Christmas-related videos. Sure, I didn't make any Halloween videos this year, even though I'm way more partial to Halloween, but you know, depression. So anyway, I do have a few topics that more or less tie into Christmas, at least tangentially. And the one I'm going to be talking about in this video, if you didn't read the title, is tradition. If you look up tradition in a dictionary, you get a bunch of definitions. The one that I think fits the most being a long-established or inherited way of thinking or acting. Mostly because it lines up with how I would personally define it, namely doing something because you already have been doing it before. I believe in preserving the past, but I don't believe that means you have to live the past. For this reason, I don't like tradition as a concept. Sure, in theory it might sound good, passing down knowledge and customs to the next generation to ensure that nothing good from the previous generation is lost to time. But as usual, humans ruin everything in practice. Tradition, as my cynical ass sees it, really is just an excuse for shitty behaviors to persist long after they should have gone out of style. It's a way for people to unquestioningly partake in trends they never would if they had only been presented with them now, as opposed to having done this at a young age. Some examples related to the topic of Christmas would include chopping down perfectly healthy trees just so we can dress them up and look at them as they shed their needles everywhere before tossing them out, or eating food nobody at the table actually likes, or pressuring people to make out even though one or both of them don't want to just because they're standing underneath a poisonous plant. But it's way more severe than that. Tradition regularly gets in the way of social, culture, and even scientific progress. What, we can't hate the gays anymore? But we always have. What, we're supposed to write on these computer machines now? But we always have been writing on paper. Tradition is basically rooted in the human fear of what's new and the human idolization of what's old, which is almost the opposite of my own philosophy, the opposite of progress. Not everything new is good, not everything old is bad, obviously, but I don't think it's too much to ask to have a tempered mindset about it. What I personally do when I catch myself practicing a tradition is to evaluate it, asking myself, am I doing this only because I have been doing it before? If the answer is yes, I discard it. If the answer is no and I find some other reason why I still practice it, good. I now have a justification for it. Take Halloween for example. I don't participate in Halloween just because I have done so all my life. I do it because I like candy, I like horror, I like playing dress up, and I like the overall aesthetic and feel of the holiday. I don't like kids blackmailing me to give them candy, but I simply opt out of that aspect by pretending not to be home. That's also a thing people seem to miss about tradition. It's not an all or nothing deal. You don't have to practice it the way everyone else is. In fact, traditions like Christmas vary greatly between nations and cultures. And personally, I don't hate all of Christmas. I still celebrate it, just do so in my own way and cherry pick the parts I like. I like some of the food and candy associated with the holiday, and I also like a lot of Christmas movies. Lastly, there's the gift-giving aspect, which I do have a lot to say about, but for that reason I'm going to save it for another video as it's very on topic. But essentially, my ideal Christmas contains no obnoxious Christmas music, no flashing lights, no Santa, no family members, just me watching movies and stuffing myself with Christmas consumables. Because two things I love regardless of the season are fictional entertainment and gluttony. I think we'd all be better off if we just regularly evaluated the things we take for granted. Why are we partaking in this custom? Why do we hold this belief? Why do we value this? Is there a valid reason? If not, shouldn't we stop doing it? And if there is, but only for part of it, shouldn't we change it up and strip away the parts we don't like? I'm not one for groupthink. I understand the comfort and community of participating in the same thing a bunch of other people are doing, but as I got older, it required me to distance myself more and more from myself. I much prefer to customize each thing I believe and practice to suit me, even at the expense of it no longer aligning with any one group. Besides, there are more than 7 billion people in the world. I think we can afford to be picky and only hang out with those that like us for who we are. If you find yourself in a Christmas with a crack situation, you're in the wrong crowd. So in conclusion, I don't mind tradition as long as it's on your own terms. Hell, I've made up traditions of my very own, like watching certain movies once a year or giving birthday gifts to my friends on my own birthday. As long as you're not practicing traditions just because they're traditions, that's all fine and well. Then you're not getting swept up in obsolete customs, but making a conscious choice to practice them for concrete reasons. So if you like Christmas and you know why you like it, have fun celebrating it with the comforting knowledge that you put some thought into it. And for that matter, if you don't like Christmas but you also don't know why, take a moment to consider why. There still isn't an anti-Christmas video or an anti-tradition video. The only thing it's anti is a lack of introspection. I think that's an important message in a season where people seem to become more and more swept up in the holiday clusterfuck. And in general, really. It's not like the species is good at stopping to think about what they take for granted at any time of the year. With that, I offer you a bitter and cynical Christmas greeting, and I hopefully will see you next week.